Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Reseller Roundtable, live on YouTube, also our podcast, streaming on Spotify and iTunes, thanks to Alton. Tonight it's me, Brian.
It's Alton here.
Andy.
And Scott.
Kevin's not with us. He's currently enjoying a Christmas parade in the lovely state of Florida. And he can no longer brag that he is the only one to not miss a podcast episode. So, Kevin, if you actually listen to this, it is noted. Tonight's topic, we want to go ahead and get straight into the topic, is we're talking about the fast nickel versus the slow dime. Which approach is better and why? And there's a lot of variables there. And so we'll kind of dig into that topic. And I'll go ahead and I guess give my initial thoughts, and then I guess we could just kind of go around the horn and hear what everyone thinks. I think there are a couple factors, right? The way I look at it, you've got to look at the platform. And now we're kind of we're talking eBay. Now, if you're on Amazon, that's a totally different animal and will not apply at all. But as far as eBay, I think you have to look at the customer. And what type of customer is shopping on eBay and what are they looking for? And in my opinion, they're looking for, really good bargains and good deals. So when you're trying to decide how you're going to price your item, well, it's going to depend on what you're selling too. Like for me, I'm mostly doing pre-owned clothing and pre-owned shoes. And that market is already pretty slow moving in general, compared to like video games or some other categories. So if you don't price your item correctly, especially if it's an everyday item, a pair of American Eagle jeans, a pair of Levi's 550s, etc., it could take a really long time for that item to sell. So I tend to go, like I've struggled with this topic over time. Like, I think the biggest hurdle that most people face when trying to decide is everybody wants all the money. And when you look at solds, and if you search from high to low, if you see somebody that gets the highest sold, well, it's human nature to say, why can't I get that too? But if you compare that to the median, and Andy was talking about the bell-shaped curve, there's a high point, a low point, and then there's that middle ground. If you want that high money, you've got to be willing to wait a long time, and you may not ever get it. Because while I'm waiting for that high money, the top dollar, guess what? More people are adding their listings onto eBay too. So if it's a common item, you're going to have a hard time. Now, there are obviously factors like the quality of your pictures, the quality of your title, your item specifics. All that definitely plays a role. And if your keywords are better than others, then you're going to show up better in search results. And an item that's rare or there isn't much competition for, well, in that case, you're not going to want to do the that fast sell. I'd rather hold out a little bit for that. But there's a lot to this topic. I don't want to spend all the time talking about it. So there's just kind of my initial thoughts. But in general, I want to sell my item quickly because I want that money to multiply, right? And I'm sure there's an algebraic equation here, but if I take $10 and I want to sell, let's say a pair of jeans, I bought them for 10, high comp is say maybe 50, but it maybe takes me 6 months. Well, I would rather take that $10 and maybe sell it for 25 or 30. Because with that 25 or 30, say I sell it for 30, I can buy 3 more items and then flip those 3 while the person that's going for 10 to 50 is still waiting for their initial sell to come in. So over time, my money is going to turn over and it's going to generate a lot more money. And I can't tell you the equation for that. But that's kind of my initial thoughts. What about you, Alton? What do you think?
I kind of agree with that. I think if you treat your money almost like the guy to debt, how when people talk about debt, right? When you're trying to pay off your debt, the snowball effect. I think if you only you're saving a little bit of money and putting a little chunk, bigger chunks. Yeah, you're gonna get it paid off. It's gonna pay off in the long run, but you're not making the savings on interest. So I think in the same way, we're paying our interest into our return on investment. So the faster we can return that dollar and get it back into our hands to spend again, it opens up our opportunity for another item that we may not have the money to buy that inventory. And I do know, like for me, I would love to get into going to the bins more, like going to opportunities. But because I know my threshold is the cost, right? Because I have to travel to them. There's a higher cost than some of the other guys on this group. I have to be prepared for that. So I'm not quite ready for that. I do like the fact that with let's say an average cost, I know Scott was talking about this. Most of his items are anywhere between just a couple bucks, no more than say $5 at the bins, depending on what he's picking up. And if he's turning around and selling that everyday bread and butter for $15 to $20, and it's a consistency. He had one sale I know presented a while back. He got a lot more for it, but you got to know when to hold them, kind of like poker, and know when to fold them. And most of the time on eBay, we're going to be folding a lot more as sellers who want to move our inventory. I think that's our biggest thing. Why buy it if we don't want to sell it? So I think you have to be really open to both platforms of the model. I think it's great to have the fast nickel, but be mindful of not to taint the market for those slow dimes, because some of those slow dimes can be really profitable if you play them right. So I think it's all about learning your inventory, learning what you source, So, but yeah, I think it's a nice little balancing game, I should say. What you got, Andy?
Kind of piggybacking on what you had just said, there's two different kinds of inventory. There's just bread and butter inventory. There's also long tail inventory. A great book to read as far as that goes is The Long Tail by, I think his name's Chris Anderson. But some of that long tail stuff is only going to sell maybe one or two times a year, or maybe once every couple of years. And I think most of us here in the Roundtable accept offers. And if your one customer sends you an offer that's like 50% of what you've got it priced at, and I price my stuff on the higher end and then try to shoot for the top of the bell curve. And that way, if it's a long tail item, do you want to wait? If you're looking for 100 and somebody offers you 50, do you want to wait another year? You know what I mean? Because you may have to wait another year or two on that long tail item. And you want to know the difference between those items too. And then you were mentioning how Scott's inventory is pretty inexpensive. I sold a Wrangler, a vintage 1960s Wrangler shirt yesterday. I listed it for $249. I woke up this morning, I had a $100 offer on it, and I looked through the last year on Terapeak, and the sweet spot for those shirts was around 100. And I paid $5 for it, so I took the 100. If I put that $100 into 20 more shirts, my average shirt sells for $25 or $30. So I make a hell of a lot more money that way than waiting for the extra 150 that may, like Brian said, that may never come.
Right.
Scott, what do you think about this?
You guys all brought up good points. And as you guys said, my cost of goods right now is pretty low, anywhere basically $1 to $3 on going on the higher end for the jackets. Now I have I did pick up a leather jacket that I'm going to show you guys later. That was about $5, but that was pretty heavy. But I do like the fast nickel a lot with bread and butter items, like Brian was saying. There's definitely a great return on investment when you're only investing a couple bucks and turning it into 10, 15, and shipping it off and having a happy customer, somebody that's looking for that. On the other end, I've mentioned on the podcast, I think it was the second or third episode where I sold a Godzilla game and on the PS4, and I got over $200 for that. So and I only had 15 cents in it, but I wanted all that money, and I could have priced it below 200 and got, it sold that day. But I wanted to wait. I got it 3 days later, and I got all the money. So I think there's definitely a game plan on waiting on stuff. And as Brian was saying earlier, people are on eBay. They're looking for a bargain, or they're looking for stuff they can't find anywhere else. So they're looking for that vintage, like I do sometimes, that vintage Cowboys starter jacket, or the Cowboys hat that I can't get on Amazon or anything like that. Because it's where I would go. I would go to eBay to find that stuff, and only a couple of sellers have that. So I know I'm going to pay a premium for that when I go in there, and then hopefully they're happy and I'm happy in that transaction. So we don't have, the only cost that I really have right now is the cost of the item, because I'm storing everything at my house right now. I don't have to. I have limited space, of course, but I have that inventory waiting to be sold. And then, but I want to get it out quickly. So if it's sitting more than 5-6 months, I do want that inventory gone, whether it be a bad buy, and if I have to break even or even take a loss on that or donate that, then I have to think about doing that. So all those factors, like Alden was saying, all those factors play into every single piece for me. And I'm not team one, fast nickel or slow dime. I'm somewhere in the middle, but I do like to have those options, and with eBay I do have those options. With other places like Amazon, I have to go with market price. So
I would say with Amazon, we can't play with that, or we're not even in the buy box, so we're not even able to compete.
So you gotta take what you can take, or wait for everybody to sell out and then go from there. So your profits are pretty limited, and that going in, and you might even take a loss on those items. But on eBay, you have a lot more control. You have a lot more control if you want to run a coupon, or if you want to run a promotion or ads or whatever you want to do to get that item sold. But everybody complains about eBay, but eBay is one of the biggest, so we like playing on their platform, and that's why we like talking about it. They give us all these different options. So that's what I think.
Yeah, and I think there's one key point that I left out, and I like what everybody's saying. Obviously, there's a lot to this, or it'd be an easy answer. I think your storage space is a very key factor. Like if you're going to play the long game, what are you selling, and do you have the space? Do you have the inventory space to store it? If you don't, or if you don't want to spend as much money on storage units or warehouses or whatnot, then you need to go with the I'm just hearing some feedback. Then you need to go with that fast nickel approach, because your inventory, like the reseller nirvana that Chris always talks about, right? If you're listing 30 a day and you're selling 30 a day, well, you don't need to expand your storage system. But if you're listing 30 a day and you're selling 5 a day, well, over time, you're going to need more inventory space. So I just think that's a key point also.
Now, would you make that decision when you buy it, or when you list it? Or I guess the big problem I have when I get it, I'm buying it on the blind sometimes, and then I have to go home and then research and then decide whether I want that fast nickel or slow dime. So I guess the best way to know that going in would probably be the best, but sometimes I don't have that option. So
yeah, I think that's experience too. Like, and you just kind of learn as you go what sells, how quick it sells. What's your price points, and like what Andy was talking about. Do you want to hold out for a few of those long tail items? It makes sense. Like, if you buy it, like I bought some jackets during the summer, and that doesn't apply. Like I'm not going to sell those quickly because they're in the wrong season. So they're going to be long tail items just um, based on the seasonality of it. And they're now selling during the winter months. So I'm personally not gonna pass up a nice jacket during the summer that I know in 6 months could sell for $50, $60, or maybe even more. Same thing like right now. I'm still picking up shorts, and I'm even selling some shorts still. So and I know not everyone sources that way. I guess that's a kind of follow-up question. Do you guys, when y'all are sourcing, do you kind of source with that mentality of fast nickel, slow dime, or are you willing to pick up something that's more long tail just because of the season?
Well, I'll go first on that one. With the bins, I pick up shorts and everything else like that. But I was at a garage sale, and this woman had 200 pieces of bathing suits, and of course it's the middle, getting close to the middle of winter right now. Q4. So I couldn't come to agree to a price for those because she wanted a little bit more than I was going to spend on them. But I'm willing to pick up 200 bathing suits if the price is right, and it's the middle of winter. I don't care. I'll sell them in the summer and hold on to those and wait for the season to come around, because you're going to get that bargain and buy it when you get it. So now, if it was a hot video game or a Switch, Nintendo Switch or PS5 like was going on last year, then definitely I'd pick that up right now and sell that right now. Because it is Q4. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think with when you're buying certain things, I think as you get used to it, you kind of know when going into an item whether you should flip it or not, or whether that item is hot. So like, me and Scott do a lot with video games and technology stuff like that. So certain games, if somebody's looking for it, like anything Super Mario, you're probably gonna be able to flip that pretty quick. It's an iconic name. It's things that are more well known. Now, until he mentioned it, I didn't even know Godzilla, that game was that expensive. So now I've been trying to find that one myself. Now I know that's probably going to be, that could actually, I would call it a fast dime, because that one is a very sought after game. You're going to get top dollar, and it's going to probably sell quick. Now, is that going to happen often? Probably not. So I think you have to kind of look at your cost of goods, that entry to play, and make your own decision of what is good for you and your business. Brian might have a higher investment number that he's okay with holding on long term for big ticket items, where I might have maybe say a $20, he might have a $50 investment if something was worth a lot more money. One of the cool things I think he's going to do, and I think it's kind of, he said it was more of a longer play, was he was talking about doing storage units. That to me is a bigger investment, but it could be potentially, but it's a longer play for bigger profits within 6 months to a year versus playing something out within our 30 days to 3 month platform as a bread and butter. Because I think your items will get stale over time, and you've got to decide what to do with it. So
can I add on to that? Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
So, I used to do storage units, and I love the treasure hunting aspect of it. And I did one probably, I don't know, I guess it was back in the summer, the last one I did. And I had a tote that, to be honest, I forgot was still there. And I was looking through it, and I was going through things. And actually, Clay was here because he was bringing me some clothing. And like, I had this backpack, and I was going through the backpack looking at, oh, there's a phone, and there's some jewelry, and oh, wow, that's a sterling silver necklace with a little bit of diamonds in it, And then today, I look at the actual backpack, and I'm like, okay, it's probably not worth much, and it's a Vera Bradley. I'm like, it's floral. Let me just look up comps. I didn't think it was probably going to be worth listing, and these are selling for 60, 70, 80. $80, and this one has the laptop case, and it just got me thinking. And like I've been doing clothing, but I don't know. I know this isn't on topic, but with a storage unit as a way to source, you just never know what you're going to find. And I do kind of think, and unrelated but kind of related. I know I'm all over the place. Like as I'm trying to get my YouTube channel up and running, I think that would make good content, like storage units and things of that nature. So it could provide me with a lot of inventory cheap. And I bought a Nike unit about a year and a half ago. I call it the Nike unit. I spent $100 on it, and I bought it because on the last picture I saw what looked like a Nike box, and so I took a chance on it, and that thing was loaded with brand new Nikes, and it probably made me about $10,000 over that past year. I've sold out of everything at this point. In that case, kind of bringing it back to our main point, if you're $100 in on $10,000 worth of inventory, you can definitely play the slow dime approach, and I was okay doing that. So just kind of all back together, your cost of goods are definitely a key point in that. Like if you spent it, the more you spend on an item, the less wiggle room you have.
Right. And I think kind of talking back into that, let's take another approach at it. Is when some people who are new that they may not know whether they want to do the slow approach, right? But they want their money back as fast as possible. Well, how many pairs of shoes do you think were in that unit that you bought for $100? How many was it? You reckon?
Probably 100 shoes.
So let's just take it like this: if you could get an average sale of anywhere between $20 and $30 for a pair of those shoes minimum, right? Let's talk the fast nickel first. You could technically afford to take 3 or 4 of those pair of shoes, list them for the fast nickel to get your investment of that storage unit back, so you can have more money to play with while the others are the slow dime. So it's a matter of your perspective of how you handle your inventory and your investment. So again, cost of goods and entry is the very number one thing that's going to affect whether you're fast nickel or slow dime, and then storage space as well. So
with storage lockers, there's definitely you're going to get you got to get rid of a lot of the stuff to first, and then go through and make your money off the stuff
Absolutely.
that's profitable. But that's why people like watching those. That's the mystery of the thing, and not knowing what you're going to get. That's why people do mystery boxes. And they also do flea markets. When you go sourcing at a flea market, you really don't know what you're going to get. You have an idea of some of the vendors you're going to get, but you can definitely go in and find some rare finds at flea markets and garage sales and stuff like that. So,
absolutely.
2 years ago, I did a storage unit. I bought it. I paid $50 for it. I never saw it until I got to the place because it was snowing. I had a buddy down there, and he's like, it's full of restaurant equipment, and there's 2 people here. And I'm like, okay, bid $50 on it. Nobody else bid, and it wound up being a whole lot more work than what I expected. And I probably barely got my investment back out of all the stainless steel equipment because I wound up just having to scrap it. And then I didn't realize that you got to take all the plastic out to get top dollar. So I got like the lowest end of the scale on it. But the smalls that were in there, it was around Christmas, and there was like 180 of those candy cane like driveway, and I was selling them for $3 a piece, and I got rid of them like the first day after I bought it. There was a zebra printer that had never been used. I can't even remember a lot of the other smalls, but we wound up splitting like $2,000 a piece, me and the guy that I went in on it on, because I didn't have a truck. He had a truck. He had way to move stuff, and it worked out pretty good for both of us. And I kind of did everything wrong, and I still made money.
Right.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of work, and you've got to have, there's different ways around it. Like it's nice if you got a truck or a van. Of course, you could rent a U-Haul. I've done that in the past. And then when you get there, you kind of have to divide them up. Like what's the for sure I'm keeping? What's the I need to research more, and what's definitely trash. And it does take a lot of work, but it is kind of fun because you never know what you're going to get. But the opposite approach is that you want to spend your money on exactly what you know is gonna sell, especially if you're trying to do that fast nickel approach. You want to risk Like there was a unit I was going to try to buy today, but it went higher than I was comfortable going. And so you got to know when to say when.
Now, are all the auctions online still because of COVID and everything else like that? Or are they just going that way
I've
now?
just barely started looking. The ones I was looking at are online. I know they also have them in person. I know the ones here are in person because Texas is pretty well opened up.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Clay, myself, we went to live storage units. I don't know. It's been a while, probably a year ago. And Justin Grimes, he has a big YouTube channel. He does storage units, and he was out there, and we kind of befriended him. Matter of fact, Clay and Justin are like BFFs. And Justin's trying to get Clay to do some storage units. So it's a good way to get inventory, and it's interesting, but it is a lot of work. And, you got to deal with things like dirty mattresses and diapers and rats and all sorts of stuff.
My only storage unit that I bought one in my lifetime, and I think I spent about $100 on it. It had a couple brand new, not brand new, but newer washing machines and stuff like that. And with all the with all the work that went in to clean that thing out, I probably would have made more working at Walmart for a couple hours or Amazon. But the next unit that sold right after that had all the vintage Hot Wheels and new in box and all that stuff. So I picked the wrong unit for sure.
Yeah, there is an element of luck in there, or gambling. And like in Tech and Sports Group, the group I'm in, a lot of the clothing sellers actually will partner up, or they'll make relationships with storage unit guys, because most storage unit guys, they don't want to mess with clothing. They don't want to list that, store that. They're looking to turn over units. So depending on which part of which end you're on as a reseller, if you're trying to sell clothes, then it would be good to find a storage unit guy so that you could get that inventory at a good price. And if you're a storage unit guy and you don't want to sell the clothing, then vice versa, reach out to some clothing resellers or furniture or any other category, because with a storage unit, you're going to come across everything eventually.
One point on that real quick before we go on to the next topic. Relationships everywhere you source, I think, is the common goal, because like today at the bins, I was looking at clothing and trying to source clothing and not having a very good luck. And then the guy that I'm friends with, he always goes and writes the books and CDs, and he looks for Blu-rays, and I give him Blu-rays when I find it. But the point is, he gave me 4 3DS games. One was Zelda and a bunch of other good ones, and he just handed it to me. Here you go, and that was probably $100 just right there that he handed to me. And so relationships wherever you source is important. So that's my only thought on that.
That's a great
sorry
point.
about that.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andy.
Oh, I was just going to say I sold a violin case to a guy that's over here in Newport, Kentucky. We got to be pretty good friends, and he has a storage unit guy that all he's ever interested in is the furniture, and he pretty much just gives stuff to Philip, and Philip had just boxes of 180-gram vinyl jazz records, and he was like, "Hey, you put them up, and whatever we get for them, we'll split them." And it was, stuff like Miles Davis, that, one of them only like 5,000 pressings of the box set, and like just cracking up because the guy that's doing the storage units is taking the hard road, and he's literally given the gold to my buddy Philip. And I mean, he's got guitars and all kinds of stuff that he gets for pennies on the dollar, because he has a relationship with this storage unit guy.
And we've talked, Clay and I and some other people have talked about this, because imagine the 4 of us, if we were in the same area, if you could create like a reseller collective of a group of 4 to, I don't know, 8 to 10 people, And this would work at estate sales. This would work at storage units, where you get a group of people and say, maybe I'm doing shoes, Scott's doing video games, Alton's doing collectibles, and Andy's doing clothing, and somebody's doing furniture, and you go in together at an estate sale and you buy out the whole thing, or you buy a really big storage unit with lots of different things in it, and you could kind of divvy it up. And as a team, I don't know how you would set that up, and it's harder because you would have to find people in your area and work that out. But I've always been intrigued by that idea, like, you know, like a squad of us showing up in a big van, a couple of big vans, we come rolling out, and we're just buying up a whole estate sale and just scooping it up. I think that would be really interesting.
You could set it up so that it's like, hey, nobody's stepping on anybody's toes. You know, like Alton gets the video games, I get the clothes. You know, Scott gets what was it that you sold the other day? The Godzilla game.
Oh yeah, video games and
games.
Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff. So,
but yeah, you're in competition with each other, but you're really not if you you know, if everybody specializes somewhere, and you probably get stuff cheaper that way if you're not bidding against each other too.
Oh yeah, because I think like I would be like going, oh, all these jeans, they're going to Brian. I'm not listing them. Like, you know, he's Dr. Denim for a reason. So like, I don't know. I think that'd be an interesting. I think that would be an interesting set of videos for your YouTube or any of our YouTubes to have a collaborative effort and says, what did we really work out to have? So maybe we'll put that in the footnote of one day, if this podcast can make it really big, we'll all come together and we'll go do something like that, see how it works out. You never know. So
yeah, we could go down to Florida and
we could hang out with
Kevin.
Kevin.
All right. Where's Kevin? Oh, he's still at the parade.
Well, he said he was heading home, but
yeah, he's in the comments.
Yeah, he's firing up the comments. All right, guys, let's go ahead.
He said,
transition
for 1 minute. Nah.
Well, I don't see him. He'll come while we're ready to wrap up, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and transition to our weekly what sells. By the way, anybody watching in the comments, we'd love to hear what your thoughts. Feel free to share them with us. And we're going to share our sell of the week, or I guess of the past 2 weeks.
That's our last.
These, because we didn't do one last week for Thanksgiving. I guess I'll go ahead and start. I'm going to share the screen, which is always fun.
We're going to be pros at this. I bet.
One day.
One day.
All right, there we go. All right. So here is my sell of the week. This sold on the 24th. I picked these up at a thrift store. And I'll go over the item, but the interesting thing is I paid $6.99 for these Doc Marten shoes, made in England, vintage, and they sold for $70, but these were an international order to the UK, and you can see that they spent like $70 on shipping, and I think shipping really only cost me like maybe 40 something. So I made about $30 on shipping plus the 70 on the shoes. So these were about $100 profit. And of course, most people that have been reselling, Doc Marten is always a bolo, always something to look for if you can get it at the right price. And the ones that are made in the UK, made in England, are even more sought after. One piece of advice, be careful. I didn't know this when I first started reselling. When we see the size, like this says size 9, that is not US 9. If it's made in England, that is UK 9. So you would have to get a sizing chart, which I know off the top of my head, that's going to be a size 10 US or a size 9 UK. But Doc Martens, matter of fact, I have a pair of Doc Marten boots, which I cleaned up today, and I'm going to list those tomorrow. So I don't think, well, I've sold boots before, but these are a style I've never seen. So I'm be curious to see what the market is on those. So that's my sell of the week.
Nice sell.
Who wants to go next?
I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead, Scott. Well, I pull mine up. So
Share screen.
Great. I got no.
this don't count, by the way.
This don't count?
No,
No, for Kevin?
No, Kevin, this doesn't count for him.
Okay.
He still
Can you
is
share my
the
screen? All right. Mine is the Raider starter jacket. I picked this up about 4 weeks ago. And you can see it's in rough shape. It's really dirty. There's the starter logo, so it's authentic. Starter on the.
Hey, can you show that logo again? Maybe zoom on that since we got a vintage one in case maybe people watching.
So yeah, this is the 80s starter logo. So you definitely want to look for this in the starter through the lines. Definitely be on the lookout for that because there's other ones, of course. But yeah, this actually went for $150, and then shipping was pretty cheap. I charged a little less on shipping, but it was just going to San Jose, so it only cost me $10 for shipping. So I lost a couple bucks on the shipping, but did make a couple bucks on the jacket. So it all worked out, and thank God I didn't go to Florida because I hate shipping stuff to Florida like a hat for Kevin. But yeah, there's definitely there. But my sales for the last 2 weeks has really gone down. You can see like today I've only done like $29, but I know they'll pick right back up. So I got some really good stuff to list, but my sales have went down when and then it seemed like a really slow week for me. So
yeah,
definitely
me too.
Definitely got to get those up. The one thing I did want to do for the quarter, I have sold because we talked about it in the group for over time. Over the quarter, I've done almost 340 items sold.
There you go.
Not too bad. My sell-through rate has gone down, and a lot of that was easy sales like video games and DVDs. But definitely with all that, just been a nice quarter all the way around. So wanted to show you guys that.
Nice. A vintage starter Raiders jacket. That's definitely something to keep your eyes out for.
And I have a starter jacket that's Sacramento Kings, but it has the older logo, so or the newer logo, not as old as that Raiders jacket was. So,
all right, that's a great sell. Who would like to go next?
I think I got mine shared up in the queue next.
All right.
So a little backstory on this. This was what I actually listed. This was a 1967 Lego. It was still sealed in the plastic, original from the manufacturer. When I did some research, I bought this at a yard sale / like a flea market little pop-up area. Paid the guy $20 for it, and I knew it was worth something, but I just didn't know what. So I got into some research. You can see it had a little rip right here in the plastic, but you can tell it had never been opened. So I got into some of the Lego groups on Facebook, and these guys they gave me numbers anywhere between 200, 300, 400, and some of them kept using the words Grail. Well, I don't like using the word Grail because I don't know in the Lego world what really Grail meant. So I just used a lot of the keywords, and I priced it way high so that people would understand I know what this is. But finding out that this was a 67 product, it predated the U.S. Lego office by 5 years. I felt like any U.S. collector, this would be a good piece to have in your collection. So I actually accepted an offer. I was working with someone, and I sold it for $299.99 because it got within that sweet spot. I told myself $400 is what I would like, so I went above in case of an offer. But I also told myself there's not many buyers out there for this item. So this was one of them ones of we float between the fast nickel and slow dime. This was a slow dime because I kept this item for, I don't know, at least a year and a half. And then I had it up for sale once, and I got a couple offers, but they weren't great. I took it down and kept it for my own enjoyment. And then just a couple weeks ago, I decided, you know what? I'm going to put it back up and list it. And it was only here for like 3 or 4 weeks. So it technically was a fast nickel based on when I listed it, but I held on to it as a personal item. But it was a great little piece for $299 sale. So for me, that was my best sell over the last 2 weeks. especially with return on investment. Oh, and one other little cool thing: if you go to Goodwills and you see GameStops are donating video games, pick them up at your Goodwills because these two right here, these are brand new sealed Madden NFL games, and I paid 69 cents a piece. I know Scott was kind of on me about that. He's like, only 69 cents. I bought as many of them as I could. I sold 2 of them for $11.99 each. That is great fast nickel product. So if you can get video games like that at such a great price, so you know, it really depends on what you're trying to do. But I think having both options in your stores is the best way to go. So you can make that return on investment. So
I picked a bunch of those Madden games up at Walmart. So the price really did tank, but it's coming right back up. So they were like the 3-cent games that were at Walmart, but when they used to do that. But yeah, the market's definitely come back on the Madden games,
especially the ones that are sealed. And I think what people don't realize is with new product, right? If it's new sealed, just like new old stock, the value will tank because people are, but over time, they're going to want that new item. There's a collector out there who has played this game, but they want to keep a brand new option of it in their collection. So that's where they start rising over time. So yeah, I'm definitely keeping a few more in the back stock as well.
I have a couple too.
Yep. So
I
I'll stop sharing my screen.
And I think that's a great point, Alton. I mean, it's almost like common sense. Like the more rare an item is, the less competition you have, the more you want to hold out for what you're aiming for or close to it. Like you're in that $20 for some items, you're okay doubling it, but there's no way you're going to sell that for 40 or 50,
right?
Which would sell instantly. That wouldn't make sense. So that's a good point.
I think that's why I made it very clear of like when you know your cost of goods, what's your entry into the item, and it's all about what you feel comfortable with. You know, like certain resellers wouldn't be able to invest, even as small, like the someone who starts with $100. I wouldn't tell them to go buy a $20, $30, or $40 item and take up that big of a percentage of their investment money just to get started on a long tail item. You know, I would tell them to go buy a bunch of bin items for $1 to $3 each and try to flip them as many as possible to get you, as they say, as many fish hooks out in the sea. That's the way I treat eBay. So
and before we get to Andy and Kevin's, if Kevin's going to share, we have a question from the audience. Hot Flip Heidi asked the panel, do you offer free returns or do you offer returns on media? What do you guys think about that?
I would say yes, you should. I think the free return option is there for that reason. It helps get, of course, your sale, but I think it depends on the media. I think a used game, I'd be almost scared with used games. I don't know if Scott has this issue or not, but a new game, I have no problem on a brand new game doing free returns.
If it's return new.
As long as it's return new. And that's the problem is a lot of the video game people go, if it's a used game, and I know I've had this happen, and this is why I'm going to try to say this part. I've sent out used games that were $20, $30 sales used, and they turn around and send me a game of the exact same one, and the CD's all like the game is scratched to pieces.
Of course.
And they just swapped it out and they said, oh, this is item not as described. And I have pictures of the disc. That's why I turn it over and take pictures of what my disc looks like. Right. And I think that's on us to make sure we document our pictures very well, because there's people out there like that. So returns, yes, on new. And I mean, of course, I really don't have an option. eBay's going to make you do the return anyway. So to say you offer them, just might as well. You have to protect yourself.
And to add on to that real quick, you're going to show up higher if you offer returns, or especially free returns. And of course, like if you send out a new game and they return it opened, if you're a top rated seller and you offer those free returns, well, then you can deduct up to 50%. And that's exactly what I do in that case.
Absolutely. I 100% offer returns on all media, DVDs, video games, and CDs and all that stuff, because I do sell all that stuff. So I 100% offer free returns. The amount of scam, I guess, that would be out there that I've come across is very minimal. So I really don't worry about it. If they really want to return that game and they're really going to scam me, they're going to do that anyways. Oh, yeah. So I do 100% free, or not free returns, but 100%
right.
Yeah, returns. So
Clay had a question here, and he's like, or a statement. Maybe on video games, you should get it like a Sharpie or write your initials or a couple of symbols on the top side to know if they returned it, or even more if it's a scam. First off, Clay, I'm going to say that is a terrible idea.
Wait, look at my comment. Look at my comment.
Such a terrible idea to write anything onto these video games, especially of any value. Because if you're writing on there, someone else is going to see that, and that is the biggest no buy for me, is when someone has written on the plastic of a video game, because that means I'm going to have to replace that case, and that's just another cost that I don't want. So I'm gonna go find it somewhere else. So Clay, no.
Yeah, I'm not gonna write initials on my Godzilla game either and send it off. And
right.
Now,
that's almost as bad as me saying I was gonna write my initials on that Lego piece.
Yeah, there you go.
Now,
and hope that someone can get it off.
If you have a piece of electronics like a receiver, you may want to in small area put a marking that you can photograph that you could identify that as yours. That's different than a video game, though, because nobody's going to want a video game with Sharpie written on the game. Like that. That's not good.
I think not necessarily for the video games, but you can get, I think there's an invisible ink that will show under a black light that you could mark things with, but I still don't think I would do it on a video game disc.
No. I'd be too scared on a video game. That's just me personally. I like that idea on hard goods and electronics, things that have a metal base like VCRs, DVD players, something that tangibly can be removed, or is more understandable that maybe a company or someone would have put a marking there, but certain things just don't make sense.
Plus, as we treat this as a business, we have to realize that returns, even though they're annoying, we have the recency effect that plays in where we only remember the negative things. Like I have over 2,300 reviews on my eBay store. I don't remember any of the good ones, but I can tell you the last negative one I've had. So we have to keep in mind that returns are actually relatively, well, no, they're not relatively. Returns are typically a small percentage of your business. So we don't want to get too bent out of shape over a small percentage that is actually a write-off, and many times we can resell it. And like I said earlier, if you offer free returns and you're a top-rated seller, eBay does give you some protections, including that where you can deduct up to 50% and always report the buyer. I report a buyer a week at least, so make sure you do that. All right, do we want to get Andy? Are you ready for your sell of the week?
Yeah. Why is it? Oh, there we go. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Entire screen. Okay.
While you're doing that, I wouldn't say worry about returns. Like returns are part of business. Like you want to handle them, but you shouldn't worry about it. But at the same time, you shouldn't allow people to screw you over either.
Right.
Because if they're screwing me over and I don't report them, they're going to screw over Alton and Kevin and Andy. Like I believe we have a duty to other resellers to draw that line. That's my thought on it.
Alrighty, am I pulled up now?
Not yet. Nope, don't see it. Oh yeah, Clay's clarifying. Yeah, complaining. Yeah, complaining is to spend energy on that's probably not good either.
Well, I think my main thing is with that, while Andy's pulling that up, is not necessarily dwell on the negatives, right? But I think we also have to put ourselves in the best position to handle them and knowing your limits, getting to that return. So that way you can best handle it. Like I said, preparedness, take your photos. You set yourself up for success. What you were talking about is we have a routine. It sets us up for the positive side so we can deal with those negative returns and not have to take such a hit. So, I mean, I agree with that. I said, but certain things I have standards and practices in place that I refuse to change. And that's just one of the things. I won't write on stuff. Like I try to, do the best I can with the returns, but I think everyone learns on their own way what works for them. So
it's a beautiful shirt, Andy. You want to tell us what you got there?
I like that. Should have bought that for me.
It's froze up, but it's a 1960s Wrangler Yeah, it's a Sanforized Wrangler Pearl Snap. I listed it for $249.95. I found this Tuesday, listed it Tuesday evening, and then this morning when I woke up, I had an offer for $100. So it kind of ties in with the quick nickel, slow dime. The one that I found, the comp that I found that was $249 was denim, and I couldn't really find a comp for the plaid that I've got. But I went through Terapeak. No, it's not pulling up either. But I went through Terapeak and I sorted from highest to lowest and took all of the lotted items out. And the sweet spot for these shirts was around $100. So I figured, take the money. I paid $5 for it, and 20 times that's good enough for me. 20 times what I put into it. And like I said earlier, you buy 20 more shirts, and my average shirt sells for between $20 and $25. That's over $400. So could either sell it and go buy more inventory or sit on it. And for an extra $100 to $150, I just figured it'd be better off to take the money now.
Can I ask you a question, Andy? I see a
Sure.
keyword in your title that's not common. Maybe you can explain that to the audience. Sanforized?
Yeah, Sanforized is the process that they used. They started in the 30s, and it's the treatment that they put on denim or I guess for flannel too, that keeps it from shrinking. So there's I read an article about it while I was listing this. There's people that prefer Sanforized denim, and then there's people that actually more people I think prefer the unsanforized because it's the way the denim comes off the loom when they weave it. But it's a process that they kind of advertised it pretty frequently from the 30s through the 50s as I guess kind of a selling point. I think everything that you buy now is Sanforized, but they don't use that word anymore. But it's a great keyword for stuff that is vintage. And it says it right. Let me see if I can get it to come up. But if you look on the tag, it says Sanforized, and then says made in the United States. So that was all pretty good stuff. Here it's going to come up, I think. Yeah, you see where it says Sanforized there.
Oh, okay. I see that.
Yep, so that was mine for this week.
You learn something new every day.
Absolutely. I remember when you put that in our group chat, and I was like, I actually had to go and search that term up because I was like, what is Sanforized? I was like, oh, it's how they treat clothes back then. So it's a little different. I didn't know that. So we always learn something. So
I see Kevin's driving, or did you want to talk about?
Yeah.
You may not be able to share, but you want to talk about yourself?
Yeah. My best sale was a set of left-handed Adams Idea Tech, I think version V3, and I paid those $40, and they were supposed to be for myself. But then I found Cobras F5s, and I got those for $50. And those clubs alone are like $350. They're next to new, so I decided to keep those and sell those for $150. Right now, I would have gotten probably around closer to 200 if it was spring, fall, or summer. But since we're kind of deep into, December, well, not deep into September, but the time of year right now, I took the 150. Again, fast nickel over the slow dime. I had a lot of watches, a lot of views on when I listed it, but the guy offered 150, and it was kind of a slow day at that point. And I think it was my first sale 2 days ago. It started out 150. It was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I ended up selling $600 worth of stuff that day. So kind of snowballed into selling a lot of items that day and making a lot of money.
Nice. Kevin's our resident golf club expert. He has a lot of great sales with golf clubs. I know I've been like preaching niching down, but like part of me wants to keep clothes going, but also add in some of these higher ASP items into my store. And if I start doing storage units, I think that naturally will occur.
Best time to do it is start doing it like around February, March. And like as soon as we had that last year, our probably gross per month boosted up probably like 25-30%. It's a high buy-in, but if you can get an assortment of clubs, you can sell them. Like I don't really sell any clubs less than $25. But my average club sale singles are like around $35-40. And I usually pick them up around less than $5. And then my average set would be around roughly $175 and up. Like last month, I sold a set that I refinished, Ben Hogan's. I sold those. The Apexes sold those for $190 in like an hour. I think it was less than an hour. And those are forged. I have 3 more of those sets I need to refinish. And I've just been so busy. I haven't had time to refinish any clubs or even refinish any furniture.
Yeah, I think that might be a good topic for a future podcast, like sports good equipment, like baseball bats, softball bats, golf clubs, because there's a lot of money in all that, and maybe we could talk about that in the future.
I mean, also if you look at those tennis clubs I had that I sold the 3 of them. I mean, I sold one of them for $210, the other one for $188, and the other one for $150 on 3 tennis rackets. And my highest sale before in tennis rackets was like $40. So that kind of blew it away.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, well, those are all great sales, guys. Kind of covered the spectrum there: shirt, shoes, jacket, toys, and golf clubs. So you can see you can make money in a lot of different ways. Just a reminder, guys, that our podcast Reseller Roundtable is on Spotify. It's now also on iTunes. So, and Alton does a great job of editing this and making it more compact and easy to listen to. So if you can catch it on those podcasts, or you can catch it on those platforms, and 5-star reviews on iTunes would be great. We'd appreciate it.
And don't forget the website.
Oh yeah, so we are.
You want to share that, Alton?
Yeah, so we are also working on it's more of a more personable aspect of us. So as we decide our pros and cons, ups and downs of the reselling, if you feel like, hey, we want to rant about something, we have a thing through WordPress.com now. It is the Reseller Roundtable. I can put the links, and we'll have it probably shared or added to your video later if they want to. But it will be linked inside of like the Spotify from now on. So you have access to that webpage through WordPress.com. But Kevin wanted the place where he could rant, so I built him one. So that's how that started. So he just wanted to be able to turn his frustrations out on someone, to let them hear the frustration of a reseller sometimes. So that's
where I could give off my top 10. Like I like going down rabbit holes with different niches. Like I recently came across top 10 VHSs that sold on eBay. Right. So I like writing that stuff down, putting pen to paper, and
I just like giving him a hard time. So you have to know that I'm joking most of the time. But don't forget also, we just got iTunes done, Spotify's done, but we also have launched our YouTube channel that coming first of the year, we will be going live from there instead of rotating between channels. So if you're watching and hanging out, make sure you go to the Reseller Roundtable, subscribe on there on YouTube, and we can get everybody there, because the first week that we go live in January, we are going to be live from the Reseller Roundtable YouTube channel. So
And also, you said all past 5-6 episodes are up on Spotify, and
Yeah, all 6 are up on Spotify. 2 of them are confirmed uploaded now onto iTunes, but I'm trying to upload one of those a day. So like number 3 will go up tomorrow, 4 will go up on the next day. So by the time we go live again, all of them will be caught up on iTunes. So
how far behind on? How far are we behind on uploading the regular ones to like the newer ones? 2 episodes back.
What are you talking about? All of them are done.
No, the one we did last week or 2 weeks ago. Is that uploaded?
Episode 6 is already done, my friend.
The one that uploaded.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go ahead and address this little elephant in the room with our watchers. Kevin is the slave driver of this group. I don't appreciate it sometimes, but I appreciate the consistency. But I beat him to the punch. So, pat on the back for me.
Way to go.
Alton works really hard producing, and Kevin is very demanding.
No, I just want what's best for us, and I love all you guys.
Yeah, I have to step back sometimes and be like, does he really mean it? Does he?
No, I'm just joking. I love pulling his legs.
Yeah. That's too funny for me.
That's all right. We're gonna all go thrifting together one day, Kevin. Just be careful around the bins when Alton's near.
Yeah, we all got to get together, maybe do a meetup. That'd be fun.
That would be a heck of a way to sit down and do like a podcast, or even don't even have to be a podcast, just a live hangout, sit down with the roundtable. That'd be a fun adventure of a weekend. I don't know how that we pulled that off, but
where's everybody located? I know Kev's in Florida. I'm in just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio.
I think we're the most spread out group that goes together on YouTube as possible. So we're gonna have the hardest time. I'm in North Carolina
to California.
Yep, North Carolina, crazy.
Oh, so. I also want to mention. Don't forget next week's episode. We're gonna have my mentor. I always say he's the greatest reseller I've ever met. Ronnie Hart from Hart's Pickers. I've known the guy for about 10 years now. And to me, he is, no matter what if he ever says anything bad about me, there's nothing I could ever say bad about him. He's done so much for me. That guy is the reason why I'm so good at what I do.
Well, I'm going to be asking him a lot of questions next week.
You need to watch his videos too, man. Everyone knows Ronnie Hart.
Oh yeah, we know Ronnie. It'd just be nice to be able to have that, almost that one-on-one next week with him on the roundtable. So that'd be great.
Everything I know about Ralph Lauren, I think I learned from Ronnie.
That's right. Yep, Ronnie and Steve Rakin.
And whose channel are we going to be on next week?
I think we can do mine.
No, I think
we'll do mine. We'll have Ronnie on there.
All right. So next Thursday, the Thrifting Lounge guys. All right. This has been a good talk. Hopefully you got something about, pricing strategy and other things. The Cowboys are playing.
Yes, they are. Winning.
It's recorded, but that's okay. That's okay. Go Cowboys.
It's only 7-0.
All right. Well, thanks for everybody dropping in tonight. Don't forget to smash the like button. Subscribe to all of our channels if you haven't done so. And everybody have a good night.
All right, guys. We'll see you.
Cool. Thanks.